food service, that's like a classic, like after school kind of job. But I feel like you still can learn a lot in those kinds of jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one like thing I've really learned is kind of just like smiling through it. For sure.
Hello, and welcome back to Journeys to College and Beyond. So we've covered all sorts of steps in the college process so far on the podcast. And there comes a point in the college journey where you're ready to start applying your skills that you've learned in the classroom outside of the classroom. Maybe you want to develop some of your interpersonal skills with an after-school job, or step up to a cool new internship you've had your eye on, and eventually start looking ahead to a real post-grad career, whatever that might look like. We're talking with a student who has experience with all of these things today. Welcome, Kenny.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Kenny. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, Kenny, I know I introduced the theme for our episode just now, but why don't you start off by introducing yourself, name, major, what year you're in?
Yeah, so as I was introduced, my name is Kenny. I am a current senior, so I'm about to graduate in less than a month, which
wow.
Sad, exciting, scary, all of the emotions above. But I'm doing a dual degree in urban and regional planning and political science with a minor in legal studies as well. So kind of all over the place, but hopes into getting into like zoning, land use law, and all of that.
Cool.
All of that, yeah.
Full plate. Oh my gosh. Kenny, as you mentioned, senior year, it is like, I'm going to say we have like, 2 weeks before graduation right now when we're recording?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, a bunch of mixed emotions.
Yeah.
To say I'm excited, but I'm also kind of sad and nervous to leave everything behind, and
that makes sense.
But a bunch of new opportunities, so
that's
looking
true.
forward to that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So obviously, we'll talk more on the senior stuff later because you have a very interesting perspective that I want to explore more. But getting to the theme of our episode, which is kind of like student employment as a whole. Do you work on campus? Have you worked on campus during your time here?
Yeah, so throughout my just experience here on campus, I've held two primary jobs. One is working for the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, which is just like a student tour guide, an I-STAR is what we call it.
Yeah.
And so through that, I give tours to the school or to prospective and admitted students, phones, lobby shifts, and things like that. So that's one job I've had on campus. And another is just like the food industry, food, drink industry, all of that. And yeah.
Totally.
So a little bit of two kind of different things, but a lot of them involve just like working with people, customer service, and all of that.
Was there anything you've learned from your food service? That's like a classic like after school kind of job, but I feel like you still can learn a lot in those kinds of jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one like thing I've really learned is kind of just like smiling through it. For sure. There's definitely going to be people who come in with just like negative intents to like bring you down, and just like keeping that mindset, just like thinking like positive things, like be like, oh, maybe they had a bad day, maybe that's why they're acting that way, but don't let that rub off on you, don't let that affect you in negative ways, because you don't know what they're going through. Maybe they're going through some hardships or things like that. So it does teach you to kind of just look at everything in a more like positive manner, which I think is a very good skill that I've learned.
Oh yeah, that's a great takeaway. And I don't know, I feel like that's something anyone can take away. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're going to be like working in college, out of college, in a career, you're definitely going to be working with people, like almost 100% guarantee.
Yeah.
There's always going to be stuff like that. So
yeah. And it does teach you like a lot of skills too, not only through like my work experience, but also just like through a lot of the extracurriculars I've been involved in, that involve like compromise, working with people, like especially in like a bunch of RSOs. It has taught me just like compromise, especially when we like disagree on certain things. And I think now has just been like the perfect opportunity to learn those skills, just so that like when I'm kind of handling like situations where I don't agree with everyone, or situations that could be a little bit more challenging, I'm not doing that for the first time in like a high stakes job.
That's a very
where
good point.
Stakes are very high. I could like lose a job, lose promotions and things like that. So
clients,
it's like
whatever.
clients. So I'm building all these skills now, not only through like these work experiences, but also through so many different RSOs that are here on campus that do teach you a lot of those skills as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like that, even though like these jobs that you're talking about, they're not necessarily directly tied to what you're studying or what you maybe want to do you feel like they've at all influenced your future plans, or like, I think I could do this, or oh, that's not for me?
Yes, in a way. They are both very like people heavy, like especially with like tour guide. I'm talking to people for hours, interacting with people, answering questions and things like that. And it showed me that I do like working with people a lot. I kind of like it. Every day is different, and it's not like the same thing where I'm sitting at a desk and not talking to anyone or anything like that. I very much enjoy meeting new people, talking to people, because in a way that helps you build connections. You never know who you'll meet. Especially like through some of my tours, people have told me so many stories, like people have so many backgrounds and histories and things like that, and that's just always so engaging to learn new things and meet new people.
That's cool. It
has kind of pushed like what I want to do, especially like getting into law, which is what I kind of hope to do, or like public service. It does help in that sense, because of that it kind of affirms that I want to like work in a career where I'm talking with people, meeting with people, and helping people out. You're like flexing that muscle a little bit. Even though you're not, like I said, you can learn all sorts of stuff from like more of a like an after school quote unquote kind of job. So well, how do you balance your classes and other commitments with working? It's definitely a learning curve and a little bit challenging. So pursuing a dual degree, to those who like aren't too familiar with it, is a degree within two different colleges. So my political science degree is within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and my urban and regional planning is within the College of Fine and Applied Arts. So I have to balance like the gen eds for that, doing the extra credits. So a normal degree has 130, but with the dual degree you need 150. So there have been a few semesters where I need to like also take an overload, or like above 18 hours for a few semesters, which is challenging. But on top of that, I think one skill that I've really learned is just using time effectively. I definitely struggled with this in high school a little bit, but when like a teacher gives you 15 minutes to just like work on an assignment, like back in high school I'd just sit around on my phone or like play games on my laptop or something not productive, but using 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there when you're given that time, and using those effectively can allow you to just like get it done. And then you don't have to stress about fixing or completing all those things later in the night when you have like other things you want to do, when you have work, when you want to hang out with friends, when you want to work out, or all of that. Just using like those small chunks of time effectively has definitely been a skill that I've been able to grasp here. And that I think can go a long way. I mean, the time definitely adds up, especially when like I'm obviously graduated, I'm out of school, I have a full-time job now, so I'm at my desk from like 8 to 5 and then I go home. When you're a student, you don't have the luxury of that separation necessarily, so you definitely have to kind of piece it together where you can, like even if it's like taking a nap between classes, like especially like classes, like when you have like a class like from 10 to 12 and then another class from like 2 to 4, something like that, like what you do in that time like in between classes can go a long way, whether it's like taking a nap, taking time for yourself, which is so important, especially in college. It's just like taking a walk is something too, or just like doing homework and things like that, but just like finding use of those like times that you're kind of like unsure what to do with really goes a long way. Oh my gosh, the schedule in college is super choppy. For sure. And also, I think I've talked about this before, even on this podcast, but like I felt like when I was a student in college, as soon as I got my rhythm and I was used to like, okay, this day I do this in the morning and this is my afternoon, this is my evening, and I had that structure and that rhythm figured out, it was a new semester and it was time to change my whole schedule again. And you feel like you're always like starting over, like scrambling and figuring it out. It's a really quick paced environment, college, which is part of why it's so easy to love too, because it's so exciting, and things are different all the time. At least in like my experience, I've felt that like every year has been different. Just not 100%. Only like, I mean like living conditions wise, in terms of like I haven't lived in like the same like apartment, like I've kind of done it all in terms of like there's so many different awesome housing options here on campus.
So true.
Like my first year I was in a residence hall, second year in a Greek house, third year in an apartment, now a senior house. So I've kind of like experienced
You've done it all.
There's a
Wow.
lot. Yeah. But it definitely has like all felt like different in a way, but also just like one college experience. But it's been cool to kind of just experience like a little bit of everything.
Yeah. That's crazy. And you move like, forget the schedule change. You're moving like every couple months.
That's been a little challenging.
It's challenging. You just kind of roll with it. It's kind of like your customer service smile philosophy.
Yes,
you
exactly.
just kind of roll with it.
It's kind of funny too, like all the furniture has been the same, or like decorations that I've had in my room. So it's kind of funny seeing like the same decorations just like in a different like bedroom all 4 years, which is kind of funny.
That is funny.
Like the posters I've had since freshman year. And
they're like loyal.
Yeah.
So I don't know, for anyone that's like looking into poli-sci, legal stuff, and all the stuff that you're kind of exploring now, what would you say is like a good track to be on in high school?
So I've always been into just like politics and things like that, government aspects. I know most people have like a civics requirement in high school, which is kind of what officially like drew me into like pursuing political science and things like that. I also for the longest time knew I wanted to get into law. So to me, like political science, especially here, the courses at the University of Illinois, there are a lot of courses you can take that help prepare you for law school, or just like showing interest in law and things like that. Not only that, but you could also take classes with the law school here that are taught in the law building by law professors, which are also very helpful. Just throughout high school, though, just staying up to date with the news is pretty much just like all I really did. But it does go a long way, and just like staying involved, staying active. And
cool. Yeah. And even like taking that and making it like even broader, even beyond like poli-sci or legal interests. I think what you're getting at that I really like is just pay attention to what you're actually interested in and like what you actually enjoy spending time on. And there's probably a career that would correlate to that.
Yeah. And there's definitely been like times where, at least in high school, for some reason, I've always wanted to be a dentist, which is kind of random. But for like growing up, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Then I realized how like math heavy it was and kind of pushed me away. But that's when I kind of just like, there was so much just happening, I feel like politically throughout my like high school experience, that I was just like, I was just like, oh, this is interesting. Like, why is this happening? Why is so-and-so happening? And all of that. And then that's kind of when I was like, this really does interest me. And just following that interest throughout high school, throughout college, has really drawn me into the spot. And then
that's cool.
Just always like, I found like a passion for urban planning as well. And just being able to combine the two. It's like a very niche like type of law. I feel like it's not the most practiced type of law. But just like finding a way to combine like multiple passions into one career path is really exciting.
We always talk about, from like an admissions perspective, like a customizable degree. And I feel like it's easy to be like, okay, what does that mean? But I think what you're doing is what it means. You know, you can dual major, or what is it called?
Dual degree,
dual major. You can add on a minor. You can do all sorts of stuff to kind of
and especially with like dual degrees too, like you could do anything like you really want. So I was lucky enough that like my 2 degrees have like a connection. A lot of times when I tell people I'm doing that, though, they don't see it right away. They're like, that's kind of random. But then I kind of explain it. But you could do 2 completely different things. And it's kind of cool too, because then you have experience in like 2 different fields, and it gives you a lot more opportunities, a lot more options. Like
you're flexible
further down the road when you're looking for jobs, or like if you have like a chem and an English degree, like you could do so many things with like that. You could do writing, or like you could combine them, or you could go 2 separate ways with them. And I think it just opens up a lot of windows, not only dual degrees, but double majors, minors, all of that. Education's key.
Super cool.
More you learn, more you know.
You're completely right. Yeah. I love that. And I also love hearing, I love hearing how you can combine stuff and make your own thing, and carry that on into a career. But I also love hearing the paths that people kind of like considered but didn't go down. Like you mentioned, being a dentist. I think that's like, I don't know. I just love hearing those stories. I think it's so interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how that came up like randomly as a kid, but for some reason,
We like latch on to stuff as kids, and like
it was
it's
like my
okay to-
hyperfixation as a kid. It's like having clean teeth and
That's so funny. I'm trying to think if there's anything like that I had. I feel like there was a long time. Well, we had like a school fair or like school carnival in elementary school, and there was like someone who was going to like tell you your future in a crystal ball kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure it was just like our music teacher in a costume or something. But they told me that I was going to be a veterinarian, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And I like kind of like stuck with that, but I'm not great with animals. I have a ton of allergies. Like it's just like definitely it's just like not for me, but I've like really stuck to that for a while.
I know, I feel like there's definitely a lot of like career paths that kids like think of. Like I feel like everyone at some point wanted to be like an astronaut.
Yes, they're just like, okay, how many of us are going to be astronauts?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember doing one of those and it was like, yeah, there's 6 people in this room that are going to be the president. Like it's just like, you know, but you don't think about like, I don't know, the job market is just so different than what like children.
That's good. I like that people are being ambitious and.
Oh yeah, for sure. And maybe they are astronauts and presidents. And
you never know.
You never know.
You don't know unless you dream about it first.
Right. Ambition, I mean, that's how you get stuff done. So I'm all for that. So kind of speaking of ambition and obviously our theme of like employment, career paths, prepping for a full-time career and stuff like that. So internships are something that come up a lot at this kind of point in a college journey. Do you want to talk a little bit about internships? Do you have experience with an internship?
Yeah. So I've had 2 primary internships. One I've had throughout my entire college career, which is just interning at a law firm in Chicago. And it's definitely taught me a lot of skills just about like what it's like to work in a firm, working with clients, kind of just like an everyday life of an attorney and what they do, whether it's shadowing in the office, the courtroom, or even just like smaller things.
Totally.
I think has definitely taught me a lot of skills, but also just showed me what it's like. And then my other internship was like a private consulting urban planning firm that did a lot of work there. And that one I did this past summer and kind of balanced the 2. But that one was definitely a lot more of applying skills that I've learned in the classroom. So through the urban planning department here, we learn like a lot of softwares through like Creative Cloud, like Adobe, InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, all of that. And a lot of the work I was doing for that firm was those skills. And that was definitely an internship where I had to use like a bunch of the skills I learned from class. So I've really had the 2. I absolutely loved them, everyone I worked with. But it also has showed me like what those career paths are like, useful skills, kind of like a glimpse of like, if that's what I want to do, which it is, I do want to combine both. And all of that.
Cool. How did you find those opportunities?
Just connections, for sure, have been super helpful. Putting yourself out there. Don't worry about rejection. Like you can send 50 applications, get rejected from 49, get 1.
Yeah, that's all you need.
The 49 are going to sting, but that 1, you never know. You could meet people there, build those connections, and then kind of expand from there, meet new people, get new opportunities, learn new skills, and all of that. So don't be afraid to just like put yourself out there, in terms of just like applying or even thinking about like an internship or anything like that. I know it could be like overwhelming, stressful. There's a lot of like societal pressure, especially as like a college student, for internships and how important they are. Don't necessarily like let that pressure get to your head. Like you don't need the most like prestigious internship in the entire world. Like you don't need to like intern for like the top investment banking company or the White House or anything like that. Like an internship's an internship. You're gaining skills, you're building connections. That's just a perfect foundation. And then from there you can move forward. So I think there's going to be like, I really don't like how much pressure there is. But it is there. So just,
it's kind of nerve-wracking. And I feel, were these summer internships?
Yes, they're all summer. For the law firm, I did do some like works like over like winter break, Thanksgiving break, and all of
Totally
that.
common. No one talks about that, but yeah.
So
Back over
that
winter
one has been like a consistent one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just taught me so many skills. The people there are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But just like having the opportunity to like apply what I learned in the classroom or take like what I learned from those internships to the classroom and like share my experiences and things like that
That's cool.
has been very helpful.
Yeah. Wow. Internships. So I want to, for anyone who's maybe like a little bit of a younger listener and are internships, they come up a lot. You hear a lot in the like college
Yeah.
conversations, and people kind of flex like, I have this internship this summer, especially this time of year, which is like springtime as we're recording. It's like it's about to be summer internship time.
All the LinkedIn posts of like,
yeah,
I'm accepting this offer. I'm accepting this offer. Yeah.
So thrilled to announce. ... Yeah. Do you want to maybe explain like maybe what's the biggest difference between an internship and more like an after school kind of job?
Yeah. At least now, a lot of internships are paid, which is nice.
Yep.
Because I know, like, at least when my dad was interning back in college and things like that, he would always tell me, or like people I've interned for, they're like, oh, this is paid like back in my day, like all of that kind of stuff. They're like, we weren't paid. So you do, in terms of like a similarity, you do get money. It's just more of like an internship. You have to go in with the mindset of more of like a learning mindset instead of a working mindset. You are doing work still, but a lot of it too is just like learning. And they, at least the employers for the internships, know that you're an intern. They know you're not going to know like everything.
Yep.
They know that you're there to learn, build skills and things like that, and just like figure your way out, find your path, all of that. At least with me, like there were skills that I didn't know. I was using softwares for the first time, learning new, like especially like legal language for the first time and things like that. And they kind of like help like explain things, and things like that, or like a task that would take like an attorney or a paralegal 10 minutes to do might take me an hour. But they are so understanding of that. So it's really more of just like learning based as opposed to like an after school job, like the food industry or things like that, where you're kind of just working to work. Is a little bit different, just because here you're at least like learning new skills, new things like that.
For sure. I will say, as someone who has both been an intern and hired and supervised interns, like in a full-time job kind of setting, completely agree with everything you've said, for sure. I mean, no one is expecting, there's a lot of pressure around an internship. It's kind of like, it feels, we were talking about like high stakes versus like low stakes learning environments in a job. It's a little high stakes because you're going into an office and you're expected to like be professional, and like you're in a professional office where people do this and this is their career, and people take it very seriously. But we're never going to expect an intern to like solve this huge problem that we've had, or like, I don't know.
Well, it's also like you're a sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
of course.
You're a student. Like they know that you're there to learn. Like they don't expect, like obviously they like expect you to do things, I think the one thing that they expect the most is just to have like a growth mindset. Come in with a positive attitude, come in willing to learn. I think that's the best thing you can do, just to prepare for an internship. I remember for my urban planning internship that I talked with one of my professors about it before going in, kind of a little bit overwhelmed. He is actually works for the city of Champaign. So he works for the city of Champaign, but also does teach a class here. Awesome. Probably one of the best professors I've had here. But I remember sitting with him like an hour after class, just talking through things and being like, they expect me to know this. Like, I like kind of know it, I kind of don't. And he was like, that's fine. Like, they're hiring like a college intern. Like, they're going to know like that you don't know everything. They're not going to expect you to have the same proficiency levels in these like platforms or softwares as someone who's been working there for 30 years. And all of that. And I think that just going in with like the mindset that you don't have to be perfect, like they're not expecting you to be perfect,
totally
is a good, like you obviously want to
key.
try your best.
Right.
But if you mess up, it's not the end of the world. Don't beat yourself
For sure.
up for it or anything like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Smile through it once again.
Yes.
It's all about attitude.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Keeping good attitude goes a long way.
It really does.
Be optimistic, be positive.
For sure. Oh my gosh. So we are kind of leaning towards my last couple of questions here. So I want to reflect, do a little bit of senior year reflection time. So you mentioned this is senior year for you. We are very, very close to graduation day, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yikes. So looking back, how would you describe your college experience in like just a few words?
I would say not only just like my experience, but the university as a whole is very balanced. I had a great like experience. My dad actually went here, and so my whole life he was chirping in my ear, go to Illinois, go to Illinois, go to Illinois. Being the teenage son I wanted to do the opposite of what my dad was telling me to do. So I kind of always pushed it away until I visited. I had a friend that was a grade above, and I visited my senior year of high school. Absolutely loved it. Applied, ended up accepting and going here. I'm sure my dad would love to hear this. You were right. But it's just so balanced, and I think I've been able to like there's not so much academic pressure where you're like locked in the classroom all the time studying 24 hours 7 days a week, but there's not so much like social pressure where you're losing track of like your academics, but you're also like still able to have fun with friends, like hang out, build connections, all of that. So just like the balance between the two is something that I would describe my like college experience where I'm like I'm pursuing a dual degree, getting both of those, but I'm also able to like hang out with my friends, do the things I love, join different RSOs, like clubs and things like that. So I've just been able to like kind of do it all. And then another like way to all like balance. I'm a huge sports guy. It's pretty awesome having like sports teams that are good. At least this year we were one of the only few universities, I think one of three, that were ranked in men's and women's basketball and college football.
Wow.
So it is pretty cool to like
Football school?
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought
Who would have
that
thought?
if you would have asked me my freshman year that we would be better at football than basketball, I would have
Laughed
thought
in
you were
your
crazy.
face.
Yeah, I'd have laughed in your face. But here we are.
It's pretty fun.
But it is cool, especially like once I graduate, being able to turn on the TV and like next year, 5 years, 10, 15, however many years from now, and like see a team that's like there is also pretty cool. Constantly have a team to root for and all of that. But just overall, like my college experience has been pretty awesome. And just being able to like accomplish so much while also still being able to do the things I love.
That's amazing. Do you have any advice to, I'll say, your freshman self?
Yeah.
But also like all freshmen.
Yes. Don't be afraid. This is very cliche, but don't be afraid to like put yourself out there. I have two like main things of advice. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, especially as a freshman. Like everyone's nervous. Everyone's figuring it out for the first time. Like I learned that the world does not revolve around me. Like no one's like thinking like if I go to this club for the first time, like, and I don't like it and never show up, no one's gonna be like, why did this kid never come back? Or like all of that. Or like if I like say the wrong thing or like mess up or do anything like that, like no one's gonna remember. Everyone's worried about themselves, especially like coming in, like finding friends, doing all of this. Like just keep in mind that like no one's gonna remember. Just like put yourself out there, which kind of leads to the second point of don't say no to like opportunities and things like that. Like obviously like nothing like terrible, but like if someone asks you to like go to this organizational meeting, or if someone asks you to like go ice skating on this day, like you never know what can happen. Like maybe you'll find a new passion, maybe you'll meet new friends and all of that, especially your freshman year, when no one really knows anyone, when you're just starting to get involved, figure things out. That's like the best time. There's also a lot of like free food and shirt opportunities,
so true.
Especially at the beginning of the year, but just kind of like saying yes to everything or not saying no, however you want to view it, can go a really long way in terms of just like meeting people, finding new things, because you never know what will happen.
You never know what'll happen.
Exactly.
Truly. I can think of so many examples from college of like, I just like,
That's like one thing I wish I did more
mhm.
my freshman year, is just like putting myself out there more.
Yeah. And it's kind of like applying to jobs or anything. It's like if you try 49 things and they don't work out, but that 50th,
exactly,
that might be the one that you need.
Plus, you never know. It's better to like try something and realize you don't like it, as
Mhm.
opposed to always like wondering.
So true.
And I mean, even if it's like something super low stake, like a club or something like that, or a student organization or whatever.
We've all been there.
We've all been there.
It's part of the process.
Yes.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Best of luck with
Thank
graduation and all of the things after. I'm sure you're going to have an amazing
excited,
time.
scary, but
It's going to be great.
yes,
gonna
I'm
be
excited.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me.